Okay, we are live on Facebook. So welcome everyone to another episode of Masters of Marketing. Today we're here with the solutions architect of Kota. Let's give a warm welcome to Al Chen. Al, thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Today Al's going to talk about, well, I'll hand it off to him for what he's going to talk about, but he's going to be talking about his solutions engineering and figuring out what customers are currently doing and building around products and building those into your own strategy. You can probably say it better than I can, Al. So in a quick 30 seconds, can you talk about what you're going to talk about in the next 30 minutes?
Sure. My name is Al, everyone. Nice to meet you. I work at a company called Kota, which is based in the Bay Area, but I'm here in New York. And today I'm going to be talking about a few different B2B marketing strategies that I've used over the last 2 years to help talk about our product and also to get new users to our product. More specifically, I'm going to be talking about how to create content that showcases your product from the perspective of Kota, my company, how we use templates as case studies, going into kind of separate direction, talking about how I do keyword research to create content and blog posts, and then how I've really embraced LinkedIn for B2B marketing over the last year or so.
Nice. I just want to remind everyone that this isn't Ask Me Anything. Al would like to have a witty, bantery conversation. So for all of our attendees or anyone watching on Facebook, you can feel free to ask a question out loud or drop it in the Slack or the channel, and we'll ask it of Al. And without further ado, Al, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. And yeah, happy to answer any questions throughout this presentation. And if anything doesn't seem clear, just feel free to interrupt and happy to answer anything. So hopefully you can keep this as a two-way dialogue.
For sure.
All right, I'm gonna just start sharing my slides. And yes, so the title of my presentation is Engaging New Users Through Solution-Oriented Marketing Built by Existing Users. I know that might sound a little strange, but hopefully my examples will make it more clear as we go through this. And I just want to kind of caveat in saying this, I'm looking at this through the lens of B2B marketing. Most of what I do is try to attract new customers and businesses to use Kota. And so that's kind of just the lens of how I'm exploring the content today. This is me. If you want to read more about my background, that's my LinkedIn profile and my Twitter handle and email address. And I'm sure this will get shared later after the meetup. So the key takeaway I hope to have everyone take away from my talk today is that you should show, don't tell, your existing users' stories to reach new potential users. Probably have heard this kind of key takeaway a lot before, but I want to talk about how I've approached this from my perspective at Kota. So quick agenda for today. I kind of already went through all these bullet points. I'm going to do a quick intro to what Kota is, because that's probably will help you figure out how I approach marketing, given the product that I support. I'm going to talk about how the template gallery that we've created creates content that allows us to showcase our product in a unique way, and how our templates actually act as case studies or testimonials. Then I'm going to talk about keyword research for writing blog posts and blog content using a tool that I love to use called Ahrefs, which some of you may have used if you're in the SEO game. And then how I've embraced LinkedIn to do a lot of my B2B marketing for distributing content, videos, tutorials, all that great stuff. Okay, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know when too soon to ask questions is, because I already have questions, but I'm sure you're about to answer them. So I'll let you take it away.
Okay, yeah, no, feel free to shoot whenever you think there's a question that's bubbling in your mind. So I'm going to do a quick 1 to 2 minute tutorial on what Kota is, because the product will probably inform you on how I actually approach marketing. So Kota it's really kind of a new type of doc. This is the platform. It looks a lot like Google Docs, but there's a lot of stuff behind the covers. I can start typing like this is marketing, masters of marketing, SF, and I can give it a nice title, and I can start writing in the middle of the doc. What's really neat is that I can turn my doc into a little more interactive and a little more pleasing. I can add a cover photo, maybe give myself a subtitle. Talk for April. I think today is the 15th. Is it? 16th actually.
Yep.
April 16th. And I'm just gonna give this a nice little cover photo. Maybe call this look for a meetup cover photo. and just give it that one, for instance, for now. All right. So my doc is starting to look a little more interactive, and the key kind of takeaway from Kota Docs is that you can mix and match text with tables of data. So you can kind of like think about mixing a Google Sheet with a Google Doc. So if I want to create a table here, I can just go to here, put a new table, and let's call this like attendees. And this column name could be name, email address, something like that. And this could be Joe, Jane, joe@gmail.com. You kind of see how I can see all this data in the table. I'm going to just take a template so we can quickly see why we care about having tables and text together. So I'm going to look at a quick template here. I think it's just going to call it to-do list. I'm going to drag this to-do list template here. And I have this simple to-do list. And what's really neat is I can actually do formulas like I can in Google Sheets, right in Kota, anywhere in the doc. So if I want to figure out how many tasks I have on my to-do list, I can write equals to-do list dot count. And that simply just counts the number of to-dos in my list of to-dos, number of to-dos. I'm gonna make this a little bigger. And if I happen to add more to-dos to my table, that number will just increase over time. And if I delete any rows, that'll also decrease the number. So this is really kind of like a new type of doc that blends the best of spreadsheets, docs, and databases into one to really allow you to build some really, really cool things. So that's what Kota is. You can think of it as a super powered Google Docs on steroids kind of thing.
So you said that your first slide is you should show what your customers are doing so that people know what you're doing. Do you have an example of one of the best use cases of Kota you've seen so far?
The best that actually goes into my second slide actually, which is the template gallery. So the template gallery is where I've been helping our users showcase their templates and Kota Docs. And I think one of the best ones I've seen is Uber, the company, has this doc called the redesign project doc. And they've taken the concept of Kota and really applied it to be a very collaborative tool for their entire team. This is across design, engineering, product marketing. And you can see here, let me zoom out a little bit so you can see a little more. Oops, I'm not sure why this is frozen. So the reason why I really like this, this is probably one of my favorite Kota docs. It's because they have listed out all their teams, all their launch milestones. And then the most important thing is that this master table, this is kind of like taking that table concept and really kind of expanding on it. They have this master table of every single product feature that they're working on internally. And then the way that they turn this into a very collaborative use case for them is you can see how on this column right here, there's a team column. So for each team, they created a folder. So let's say look at the mapping team. This is like the internal team that figures out how to like incorporate maps into the Uber app. They have a folder that just shows data that's specific to them. So they have the mapping team's goals and inspiration. And this is really the key part of what makes this shine for them is they have all their tasks that are filtered to only show for the mapping team.
So it looks pretty cool that it's got multiple different pages in the same document. You can share it. Everyone can work on each of them. And it looks to me like it's mixing a document, a spreadsheet, and a database kind of, because it looked like there was some sections in some of those tables that you could click through to an entirely different page. Am I reading that correctly?
Yep. So like unlike a Google Doc, you can almost think of each of these pages as their own standalone docs. So you never have to think about, I have to scroll through a really long Google Doc to find what I need. You can just click on the individual page and it'll bring you a whole different type of content. And that's really that's why I really love this doc, is because each folder is for a different team at the company. And then within that folder, the different pages represent a different concept for that team. In this case, the mapping team has 3 different pages that map to different rituals and things that they do. Like this is where they keep track of all their meetings. This is just showing all their tasks that's filtered down to just their team.
Gotcha. So, as a solutions architect, this looks like a sandbox where you can build whatever you want. And you're saying that you take what people have built that you might not have ever seen was possible to build, and you're making it so that those ideas are available to more people. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah. The main thing I wanted to get across with the template gallery here is that we're showcasing the product um, through examples from our actual
Mm.
users. So this is obviously not Uber's actual like tracking doc because it would contain a lot of sensitive information. But what my role is to take an idea, a framework, a tool that they've built using our platform, abstract it out so that all the sensitive information is taken out and make it usable so that anyone that comes to template gallery can find a template that is usable for them, and all the key parts of that framework is in the template itself. And so we're able to kind of talk about the our product, and also show the product to the person that's kind of browsing your gallery and looking for inspiration on how to use the product itself.
That's actually super cool because instead of just saying, trusted by Dropbox, it's like, oh, sure, you have them as a client. It's like, no, really, like this is exactly how they used our product. Have you learned a lot about how people run organizations and different organizational structures from seeing how they incorporate different tables and stuff into their documents?
Yeah, absolutely. Another doc that I like to talk about and show is Intercom's R&D hub. Actually, this is not the specific one I'm looking at. It's actually, so Intercom, for those who don't know, is it's basically a customer chat tool that you can install into your website, and it allows you for a way to communicate with your users or customers. And I believe, we can take a look at this, and this kind of gives you a kind of a good idea of what it is. Um, but yeah, basically being able to, so with this doc, what Intercom, the company, was able to do is they were able to showcase the way that they incorporate user feedback, and how they classify user feedback, tag it, and eventually how that user feedback turns into features in their product. So you can assume that there's going to be a huge table, and this is the kind of the table that they've used, a huge table of user feedback, and we actually have an integration with Intercom, the product itself. So these are actual like tickets or people in Intercom that have written in to talk about a feature that they want to use, and then um, based on the way they structured their doc, we can actually see step by step. Okay, first they enter the feedback, or the feedback actually just automatically comes into their doc. Then Intercom, someone internally at the company, will tag all the different feedback as like, is it a bug, feature request, what have you, and also give it a nice tag based on what aspect of the product they're commenting about. And then once all that stuff is tagged and categorized, then they can start exploring all the different aspects. All they can start slicing and dicing their customer tickets and feedback by a category. And there's like a nice little dashboard. And so basically what I'm saying is like by looking at their doc originally, I can see, okay, this is how they're thinking about how they take raw customer feedback, the people writing in on Intercom or whatever chat message you're using, and how they categorize it, slice and dice it, and then ultimately chart it out to see how they'll eventually incorporate that feedback into their product.
That is pretty cool that through this you get to learn that, you get to share it with your customers so that kind of the value that you're adding is not only this is how you can use our product, but this is how you can learn organizational design through the case studies of our product.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's pretty cool. Just to be
Yep.
time sensitive, I'm going to turn it back over to you, stop asking some questions, and yeah.
Yeah, sure. So the next thing I want to talk about, this is really closely related to the template gallery I just showed, is how templates can act as case studies. So since we know that Coda is kind of like a doc where you can mix and match words with numbers, tables, and text, we actually treat our Kota Docs as case studies. So this might be the traditional PDF testimonial that you'll have on your website. We took that one step further, and what if we could turn the testimonial into a template, a testimonial, and the product itself? And I wanted to kind of showcase a doc from Yuki Yamashita, who runs product at Figma, which is a kind of like a design
I
product.
love Figma.
Yeah, we love Figma here internally as well. And this is a doc that he published recently. And the first thing I want to show is that when you publish a Kota doc, it actually looks more like a website. And this is the same doc, but just published as a website. And the first page of the doc is actually just his words and kind of like a blog post about how he thinks about meetings, having a central source of truth for data, their product roadmap, and then kind of like into how he built out his Kota doc to manage and run product at Figma. And so this actually acts as the case study, if you will, from someone who's using our product. But what's really neat is that this template is available for anyone to use. So a lot of testimonials and PDFs, they talk about, oh, this customer did this X, Y, and Z, and this customer used this part of our product. But what if you could actually see how that person, that company used the product right in the template itself? And that's what these other pages are for, is you can actually look at how Yuki ran projects at Figma and the different ways that you can interact or how the team internally can interact with their Kota doc. You can see like a launch calendar, different pages for
So my
teams.
question is, what do you have to do to get someone to actually transition into one of these public docs? Like you were talking about, there is private information. There is a cost associated with anonymizing everything, putting up a doc like this, or even putting up like, these are the secrets that we used on our team. Am I sure I want to share these with everyone? How do you go about that?
Yeah, and that's kind of what my role is to work with that customer, that user, to turn their ideas into something that they feel like, oh, I can share this with the world. I don't feel like I'm disclosing or sharing any sensitive information. And to publish a doc, this is kind of more the product itself. It's really simple. It's clicking share, hitting publish,
Got
and
it.
then from there you can like oh, that's actually for me only. You can pick what category it goes in, and then also you get a nice URL of the actual doc, and then it'll eventually look like something like this, where it looks and feels like a website.
So when you're choosing a category, it sounds like you're almost publishing it on Kota like you'd publish it on Medium.
Exactly. Yeah, it's kind
Okay.
of like Medium or YouTube, where in the gallery you can now people that search the gallery can now find any doc that anyone has ever published, and we only allow you to submit one category to kind of make you think about what industry or use cases my doc serving.
Gotcha. And you've answered my question about what it takes to get someone to publish is they're showing their expertise in publishing this doc. They want to be seen as much as you want to show their content. And so you're selling them the added publicity they'll get by sharing their expertise.
Yep, and some people will just publish because it's a lot faster than publishing a website on WordPress or Squarespace, because you just literally write in the doc and then publish.
Hmm.
Not saying that Squarespace and WordPress aren't great platforms. I've been building WordPress sites for like 8-10 years now. I happen to know it really well, but if I wanted to get my ideas out really fast and in an interactive way, publishing a Kota doc is kind of the direction that we're going with that.
That's pretty cool.
Yep. Um, any other questions about templates and the case studies, how we use kind of they interact and mix and match both?
Yeah, how old is your company and how many, like, because like the longer you're around, obviously the more case studies you have.
We our company has been around since 2014, I believe, but we didn't publicly launch the product until early last year. So the
Wow.
templates kind of came starting from early last year, and originally they were just all from us, like internal code employees. But then now a majority of the templates are from our community of users and some of our customers.
That's awesome. That's a lot of development to go into a product, and it looks like it's paid off.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't a part of the company back in 2014 when it was still in stealth mode, but we really focused on building the product and getting user feedback before launching publicly to start monetizing and all that good stuff.
Any other questions?
All right, I'll go ahead and move on and kind of do a little bit of a 90-degree turn and go into keyword research. SEO is something I'm very passionate about. I've been blogging and doing SEO since like 2011 or 2012. And I'm like been keeping up to date on all the SEO, Google like algorithm changes. And it's one of those things that I think a lot of companies are underutilizing, even though people say content is king, but they don't actually execute on that like concept. And I want to talk about how I've approached keyword research from the lens of trying to find new businesses and customers to use Kota. So as you saw with Kota, like one of the powerful features is just being able to have a table in Kota. And a lot of people are like, well, why can't I just use Google Sheets? This feels the same thing as having a spreadsheet of cells and rows and columns. But the main thing is that these tables look and feel more like databases. And so when you think about doing, let's say like a VLOOKUP in Excel or Google Sheets, it's a formula where you have to find specific cell references and pull back data. But in Kota, you literally can just, you don't have to, there's no such thing as A1 and B5. It's all just names of columns and names of tables. So if I want to pull back just the name of tasks in this table, I can just say equals to-do list dot tasks. And this will give me all of my tasks from my to-do list. I can also go one step further and just add on, turn this to a bulleted list so it looks a little nicer. And now I have a bulleted list of all my tasks. And if I add more tasks, I can say more task. This will get added to my formula of to-do list.task. So what I'm trying to say is that our formulas are a little different from Google Sheets and Excel because we're relying on names of columns versus A1 or B5 and so on and so forth. So when I think about someone who uses Excel or spreadsheets, I'm probably thinking they may know how to use VLOOKUP, and I may want to write some content or a blog post that discusses VLOOKUP and then how Kota can kind of like be a potential substitute, replacement, addition to the tools they're using today. And so I start by just doing a quick like search on Google. Oops, gotta refresh this. And I'll just look at how to do a VLOOKUP. And you'll see that the first thing that comes up is actually HubSpot, which is like a content SEO, like marketing genius, in my opinion. You see some YouTube videos, and then the first articles, as you can imagine, are from Microsoft Office. So it's Office, Excel Jet, Excel Easy. And I kind of look at these, and these aren't really that helpful. What I like to do is scroll to the very bottom. And these are the keywords that I like to think about in terms of like potential articles I could write that I might want to rank for in terms of a blog post or a page on my website. So my first thing is think maybe I can do something on how to do VLOOKUP in Excel with two spreadsheets. It's a very kind of targeted term. If I look at this, go through, I can see someone did a YouTube video on it, Excel Jet. But some of these companies, some of these blog posts are not Microsoft, which tells me that there's probably less of a mountain for me to climb if I want to rank for a keyword term like how to do VLOOKUP in Excel with two spreadsheets. So that's one way on how I approach keyword research, is just literally just going into Google, searching for a topic that I want to rank on, and then scrolling to the very bottom. And these results, if you don't want to use a paid tool, like will give you a pretty good idea of like keywords that people are looking for. Another idea is to go to Google Trends. This is also a really popular tool. If I want to, I like to call this like trend hijacking. So if I want to do something, if I want to write a blog post I think will garner a lot of traffic, I can look at Google Trends, and it looks like people are talking about Taylor Swift and Kim Kardashian. Actually, no, this is not the right thing. Here we go. Recently trending. I can see some of the topics that people are searching for on Google that are trending, and maybe I want to write a blog post about IRS stimulus checks, which is a pretty big topic these days. 10 million plus searches, and somehow relate that back to my company or my content. Now, relating IRS stimulus check to Kota might be kind of a stretch, but maybe I could say something like, oh, I can calculate my stimulus package, my stimulus check in a Kota table, and then I can figure out how much I can apply for once I go to my bank. So there's different ways, and that's where the real creative sauce comes in between the keyword and what you actually do as a content writer. In terms of paid tools, we use Ahrefs internally a lot. I wanted to show how I do kind of basic keyword research on Ahrefs. So same thing, I'm going to go with that example of doing a VLOOKUP. I'm doing Excel VLOOKUP. And this is kind of a little more into the weeds on how I use the tool. But you can see how with Excel VLOOKUP, that keyword difficulty is really hard. Anything above 20, in my opinion, is a hard keyword to rank for if you're like a new company. And if I scroll down below, you can see the results that come up for VLOOKUP. What I like to do here is I'll click on the parent topic here, and then this will show up all of the other keywords related to VLOOKUP. And then I'll set the keyword difficulty to be something like 30. So I'm looking for keywords that are not hard to rank on. And then this list will show me kind of things that are related to Excel VLOOKUP, but are easy to rank on. Now, this is not that, some of these are kind of like garbage keywords, but let's see here. VLOOKUP multiple values. It looks like it gets 1.1 thousand searches per month, and it has a relatively simple keyword difficulty of 18. So again, my main thing is that if you want to rank for something as hard as Excel VLOOKUP, good luck. But do some research and kind of click around, at least in Ahrefs, and you can find other related keywords that might bring in a similar amount of traffic and won't be as difficult for you to rank on.
So this is awesome. I don't know if you've ever heard of Keywords Anywhere, but it seems to do the same thing, but they just recently became paid. So is this a free version of that, which looks like it has an even better interface?
No, this is definitely a paid tool. I was using Keywords Everywhere before when it was also free. So I thought that was great because it showed you the results right inside Google. So I didn't realize that they became paid though, so that kind of sucks.
It's not that expensive. It's like,
yeah,
I don't know, $10 for 1,000 searches or something.
Yeah.
How much is Ahrefs as a paid tool?
I don't know. We bought like some kind of team plan, so I
Gotcha.
couldn't tell you. Yeah. But again, like if you want something free, like Google Trends, or just again, scrolling to the very bottom of the keyword of the search results page gives you a pretty good indication of what people are searching for related to that keyword that you're trying to rank on.
For sure. So back to that, the keyword trends where you're talking about relating the PPC or getting like a loan for your business back to your business. You can obviously do that amazingly because you have a tool where you can throw together a quick engineering as marketing and you can get that traffic so that people are like, oh, what am I doing this in? It's Coda. Do you have any suggestions for how other people can relate that back? Like whether that's using Coda, but then giving themselves SEO juice or anything that you've seen other people do engineering as marketing to make that turn that a broader audience of companies can build?
Sure. I think being able to turn the keyword into something related to your company is a little bit of art and a science. And actually, I think I'm trying to see if I can show Figma. Actually, I need to log out because I want to show. How do I log out of Figma? There we go. Because I think Figma also does a great job of creating pages that relate to keywords they want to rank on. So if you go to the very bottom of their page, they have these things called use case pages. And they're all kind of topics related to design, which is Figma's main expertise. So if I click on UX design, for instance, if you happen to find a topic in Google Trends that you want to rank for, it's really as simple as, again, you can do this, for us, we can do it in Kota Doc, but we also have some pages like this, which is a regular HTML page that has content that relates to that keyword. And I think all of these, I think a lot of these articles and these buttons, they lead to other pieces of content that relate to UX design. So it's really something as simple as taking that keyword and then putting it onto a page attached to your website. And that's how that allows you to help build some authority for that page.
Gotcha. Besides just putting it as an H1 so that your keyword, gets pulled, are there other specific technology things that you put into that page to make sure that Google picks it up?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like, this gets into SEO 101. The H1 is kind of the main page title here. And then also what's really important is H2s. These are kind of like subtitles. So I would say this is a subtitle. Actually, if we inspect this element, we might be able to see if it's actually indeed an H2. Yep, it's an H2. So these H2s also give Google an indication of what else this content is about. So inclusive by design, open and collaborative, team libraries. these are also really important to make sure that Google knows what the content is about. And these keywords should also be very intentional. The titles should be very intentional. A lot of people, when they write a blog post or write a page, they kind of just like go with the flow and whatever. But if you really want to take advantage of SEO, all these titles should somehow relate to the H1, basically the main subject of the page. So that's kind of like some of the nitty gritty of making sure the page content is, we call this on-page SEO, is properly formatted.
Gotcha. It's a good example from how it flows all the way from the initial keyword all the way through the website.
Yep. Yeah, so the last thing I wanted to talk about is how I approach marketing on LinkedIn. I know it's a very, very big topic, and there's so many different things you can do. I'm going to talk about it from the lens on how I approach it, and I do that through video tutorials of Kota. So this is my LinkedIn profile, and I want to show a few videos. Just zoom in here. It's funny, I stopped using Facebook. I don't really use Instagram that much, but I check LinkedIn like every day. It's become like my new Facebook feed.
Same.
Yeah, I think for anyone that's in B2B or works in that kind of capacity, you'll probably feel the same way about LinkedIn. I don't know why it's not loading. Okay, here we go. All right, so all of these videos I cross promote on YouTube and LinkedIn. And what I really like about LinkedIn is that I've noticed that native LinkedIn videos do really well in terms of getting views and sometimes likes from like your network and your extended network. And it's really cool. You can see how many people are looking at your views right there. My whole thing is like showing the actual product. And again, showing, don't tell. Instead of putting in like a PDF or like talking about how great my product is, I just show tutorials of actual templates that are in the gallery. And so this one is how to do a meetup. I'm trying to find another one that did pretty well. Let's see here. I know I did it a lot more. Maybe I have to scroll a little farther back. Okay, here we go. So I did these are simple YouTube video tutorials, 5 minutes or less. And this one happens to be from a company called Monday.vc who uses Kota for grooming and prioritizing tasks they need to do for their product. And I'm just going to kind of show you through, like, I basically go through the entire template and just talk about it. And then what I do is, maybe this is pre-virus, pre-quarantine, but a lot of people when they're scrolling through LinkedIn, they can't have the audio on because they might be at work or they're, just somewhere where they can't have audio. And so I started doing encoding and transcribing all my videos so that you can read the actual content of the video. And if anything catches your eye, then maybe that might be something you want to look at a bit later. And then I also put links to the actual template in my post as well. And I find that it's one of those things where the more consistent you are, the better. I think the more that you post these videos and you show the tutorials, the more people will be like, oh, he's always producing great content about not only kind of a subject that might be related to them from a business standpoint, but also being able to see the product from the context of that use case.
Yep. Can I just butt in here? So I've seen actually a lot of ads on LinkedIn for Kota as well. Can you talk about, I don't know if you have this information, but the effectiveness of the social selling, which it seems you're doing on your account, versus ads, and which one you think has a higher ROI or converts more?
Yeah, I think I don't have the numbers on the LinkedIn ads. It's like a different kind of group within our company. But I find that, at least for me, the organic videos, they do a lot better because, again, my main thesis here is that organic video on LinkedIn is very underutilized. And I'm not talking about like you have a YouTube video and then posting that link in LinkedIn. I'm talking about taking the actual MP4 file and uploading it to LinkedIn. And so I'm not sure if you can do videos for, I think you can do videos for LinkedIn ads. But for me, I think LinkedIn video right now, like organic LinkedIn video is kind of like what Google search was back in like the 2000s. It's still very untapped. And so if you can build authority in that realm from today, then imagine what's going to be like in, 3 to 5 years from now. So it's one of those things where I'm telling everyone to get on LinkedIn video, and then as the competition increases, then it's going to get more saturated. But I
But
think in
you're
the short
helping them
term,
in the process, and you're gaining their respect, and you're building an audience, which
yeah,
are all good things.
yeah.
Another couple questions. So it takes a lot of time to transcribe a video. Do you have a favorite tool or a favorite workflow so that people can easily transcribe? Because I have seen it be very effective.
Yeah, this is a good question. I explored different alternatives for this, and what I landed on is, since my videos are pretty short, like 2, 3, 4 minutes, what I do is I just upload to YouTube first, and I know I'm going to be publishing to YouTube anyways. And YouTube has a great feature that automatically transcribes your videos for you. And so I actually do all the transcribing in YouTube itself, and you can see all the subtitles with the video, and they're transcribing tools like OK or whatever. But what I like is that if you speak pretty clearly, like they get the uh, the subtitles on pretty good, or they match pretty well. Once in a while, I'll change, a few words here and there, but it takes me like 5-10 minutes to fix like a 2 to 5 minute video usually. And then you can download that SRT file and then upload it into LinkedIn so that the subtitles
Oh.
match with the video.
So I've always used like Adobe Premiere where you download the SRT file, you upload it, you put them on the front, you export it again. You're saying you don't even have to do that. You can just take the original video, the SRT file, LinkedIn, done. That's
Yep. Yep.
awesome.
And I use YouTube as like the main tool to transcribe the video for me and doing all the heavy lifting there. Um, there's other tools, I think, like Descript and some other transcribing tools, but I found YouTube to be pretty good for my use cases. And I'm not trying to make sure that every word is perfect, kind of thing.
Gotcha. So just high level, there are a lot of steps that go into making a video. Can you just walk through like from idea conception to quickly how you film the video, the tools you use, and how you've streamlined the whole process, transcription being one of those components?
Sure. I mean, luckily, the video for me is the recording the video is actually the easiest part, because I'm basically talking people through like a doc in Coda. And it's like something I do every day. Like sometimes I'm, going on customer calls and I'm explaining people how to use a Coda doc. I'm literally just like opening up a doc and then saying, hey, this is the Uber project management doc. Guess what? You can click on this section and you can see like the different teams, go on this section and see all this different content, and then use this formula to find this. And so I'm really just explaining to people how to use our product, but specific for a specific use case or for a specific customer. And I'm
And
using,
I'm going to interrupt you and you're going to say exactly what I'm going to ask. Do you use Loom?
I use Loom. Yeah.
Nice.
I use Loom. So you have a little video of yourself in the bottom left-hand corner. And then, yeah, I think the key thing that people get caught up on, at least if you have a product that's very visual, is explaining a lot of the behind the scenes and the reason why you do something. I've realized that the best videos I've made just go straight to the point. You're just talking about the functionality. People don't have time to learn about like the years of product research that went into building this thing. Just go straight to like why this is useful for the end user. And that not only leads to a more engaged user, but also a shorter video, which I think does better on LinkedIn. And so I use Loom to record these really short 2 to 5 minute videos, YouTube for the transcription, and then uploading that SRT file to LinkedIn plus the MP4 file. And that's kind of it.
MP4. Okay, got it. So you can export the MP4 directly from Loom. You import it directly to YouTube. You transcribe it. You export it. You put it on LinkedIn. Done.
Yeah, I think the one step there I didn't talk about is you record the Loom video, but then you download the MP4 file from Loom to your desktop, and then upload that MP4 file to LinkedIn. And then you have the
Gotcha.
SRT file separately that you get from YouTube.
That's awesome. So video creation is hard. I've been using Premiere to do this process less efficiently than you. So I'm going to totally start using this process. So now that we've talked about video creation, can you kind of talk about, so you put up all those videos, you can see the views on LinkedIn. what is the actual customer journey from seeing one of those videos to possibly messaging you or something else? Like, how do you judge whether or not a video worked? Is it the number of messages, likes, views? How do you do that?
Yeah, right now it's pretty measurement for me has been pretty difficult because all I really get from LinkedIn at least is these views. But for me, just anecdotally, like I see certain type of videos do better than other ones. Like for instance, ones that mention like prominent people in Silicon Valley or about a very like a common use case like how to do project management. Those tend to get more views, and then I'll get messages once in a while. I think on YouTube actually I started to see more subscribers to my channel and see more views on YouTube videos again for the same things I just mentioned, certain types of use cases, certain types of content, and I don't let that dictate exactly what I'm going to publish because I want to make sure I capture the breadth of what our product is used for. Now, for some of you out there, your product might be specifically for, uh, you know, truck drivers on the West Coast, and then in which case your content will be very targeted. The curse and the blessing of Coda is that it's a very kind of broad platform. It can be used for so many different use cases. So my videos are mixed between sometimes business and personal use cases because a lot of people pick up Coda for a personal use case and then transition it to a work use case after they see how powerful the product is for their own personal use cases.
Interesting. So you see traffic, you see conversations increasing. You can't exactly pinpoint the metric, but you know that your continued exposure is having an effect.
Yeah, and I think at least for YouTube, I think the great thing is if you optimize the YouTube videos with the proper titles, the proper description, those just compound just like Google search. And so I look back at some of my videos from like a year ago, and some of them have like 500 to 1,000 views. Those are like people who search for something related to product management, user feedback, um, you know, to-do lists. They came across my video. Whether or not they click through the template, I don't know, I guess. We can see that in the traffic on the back end for our website. But more importantly is like they're getting this brand association that this guy is creating videos about Coda related to this use case. And those views are just kind of compounding. So I think it's one of those things, like many aspects of marketing, that's doing things consistently, and eventually you'll see things compound over time.
For sure. Final question I have about this before I'm going to hand it back over to you is you said that you succeed when you mention people that are prominent. Is that in the video itself, or is that as we're looking at this example right here at signing Monday VC and the people that you're working with and hoping that they'll see it and cross promote it?
Well, yeah, these people and these companies, these are already users of our product. So when they see it, they're like, oh, like it was great that they talked about us and the company. So usually I actually give them a heads up saying, hey, I'm going to release a video and like talk about your use case, your tutorial. I don't usually talk about like, I don't know, random people on LinkedIn unless I have a prior relationship with them. I can't think of any cases where I've done that, but usually these are people or companies that we work with.
Perfect.
Yeah, so that's how I approach B2B marketing on LinkedIn, is just really doing product tutorials that are really short and concise and for a specific use case. And I think if there's, again, one lesson to take away, I talked about this at the very top of the presentation, is just showing more than telling. A lot of what I see on LinkedIn these days, just going back to LinkedIn, is people just telling how great their product is and maybe showing a press release or a PDF on how great their product is, but show me how great the product is. I was talking to a user the other day, and something they told me was they when they get an email from a company that they may or may not be using, they're always wondering whether or not the email is spam or actual educational content. And I think you always want to, if you're in the B2B space, you really want to lean towards educational content, because once people think of you as spam, it's a really hard moniker to get rid of. So that's why with my videos, I really try to just educate people on like how other companies think about product management, project management, things like that nature.
I think it's great. That's exactly why we're doing Masters of Marketing. Is the more educational content you can build, to your point, you build an audience. People trust you, they like you, and they happen to notice your product. But if you lead with your product, they disregard everything you're trying to teach them as promotion. So
Yep.
it looks awesome that you're being a teacher, and I'm going to go through some of these case studies because they look very insightful.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, that's really kind of the end of my talk. And if people have more questions, happy to answer them now.
Jake, you just turned your camera on. Do you have a question?
I just have a couple comments. I thought that was an amazing presentation. Well, everything. Just a couple of recaps from some things that I put down for mine. Well, because so my company, we kind of are this similar drag and drop kind of for marketers, and essentially bringing in data APIs together. And the cool thing is, like, right when you show them, they like automatically get it. They understand it. They see the value. They want to sign up. And so like actually just showing that and putting that out there, not actually even trying to sell value add, is really like the thing that's gonna be like, oh, this is actually really cool. So the show don't tell is really I resonate with that. Another thing I really liked is also having the use cases in your footer as well, and then kind of linking back to different pages to kind of increase not only like linking between different pages, but also, you know, building that on-page SEO for the use cases that people would search. So I'm going to start implementing that. And then another thing is also the templates. I think we've gotten to this point now with all the software. Is just now like kind of like, what templates do you have? Can I search the templates and just use that, so I don't have to do any work creating my own custom, you know, processy to build this like universal doc that I need to get. But yeah, I've actually followed Kota for I'd say like 3 or 4 years now. And so it's cool to see them. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool to see Kota. I remember the first landing page Kota had. You may have been there when they had like the computer stuff and the old pictures, and it'd be like, we're getting rid of, you know, the way that documents work. They, you know, this is the new age. So it's really cool to see where you guys have come, and very exciting. I may actually just try and use Kota now for some of our stuff. So
yeah, it's awesome. And the video you referenced, yeah, it had the blinking cursor in the very beginning.
Yeah.
It was one of my favorite like kind of videos that we've done. And but yeah, like as with many companies, like we evolve and things shift. So that video is still on YouTube, but not like the main draw for like new people to come to our website.
Exactly. Yeah. There's like, because that was kind of the storytelling aspect of it. Like, we're changing the way everything, and then like people seem like, oh, this is like full disclosure, I use Notion right now for a lot of my wiki stuff, but now I'm like, this could actually be a lot better. More customization, more how I want it, more even bring in like a CRM into my, you know, project management wiki that I do. So really cool.
Yeah, thank you.
So to that point, one of my follow-up questions is always, if people want to learn more about you getting started, where can they find it? So just to Jake's point about him getting started, where can they learn more about you, Chen? Where can they learn more about starting with Kota? So that's you. Yes, awesome. Do you have a link on your or LinkedIn page where they can, I don't actually know how Kota sign up works, like do a 2-week demo or sign up for a freemium version, or how's that work?
Yeah, so they're just like Google, just like the G Suite. There's a really generous free version of Kota. Just go to kota.io/welcome and just get started. And feel free to email me or just LinkedIn me or Twitter me. Like if you have any questions about getting started, my role is to really help people learn about the different use cases and sometimes help them build their use cases if, you know, they're struggling or having issues with migrating from like, you know, really nasty Excel file or Google Sheet and into something more streamlined in Kota. So yeah, kota.io/welcome is probably the best place to get started with the product itself. But if you want to see some of the content that I've published, and I think it's all public, is just go to my LinkedIn profile, and you'll see all the videos and some of the like companies that I talk about that use Kota.
Perfect. One of my also favorite questions is, I know that you have learned so much from all these case studies, but as a solutions architect who's learning all over the internet, do you have other places that you go for regular checkups like blogs, videos, social accounts so that you can learn how to do what you're doing even better?
Oh man, so much. Where do I start? I would say the number one place I learned from is probably just podcasts. Like I listen to like a ton of podcasts about B2B marketing, about the future of like software, computing. So a lot of kind of like this technology kind of related things.
Do you have a couple
Um,
favorite titles?
so
Just
I'm
one.
just gonna I'm gonna scroll through my podcast right now, my podcast addict, and see which ones that I listen to. Um, Honestly, like the Inside Intercom podcast. So it's the podcast produced by Intercom, the company. It's really good for all aspects of um, sales, customer marketing, product marketing. Really love their podcast because this goes through a whole range of things, and they target a similar audience as who we are targeting at Coda. So I really appreciate like how they approach their podcast. In addition to that, I follow the various newsletters too. Those are probably another way I keep tabs of what's going on in our industry and just like of new topics that I can think about for like creating a Kota Doc for.
Nice. Final question. Who would you like to see on Masters of Marketing that you want to learn from?
Oh man, that's a good question. So I actually saw a webinar. I think it was a webinar yesterday, actually about Figma from their head of growth or head of marketing. So I would recommend talking about them because I actually walked through the website and how they approach like their content and keyword research. I think their marketing is definitely like leaps and bounds, I think, ahead of where we are right now. And I still have a lot to learn from how they approach it in terms of like doing keyword research, doing tutorials and all that kind of stuff. So looking at Figma's marketing would be a good place to go.
Okay, I'll reach out. Considering we use it, I can be like, here's my use case, Figma, let's talk about this. I think it's also interesting that you say that because your products are probably, in my mind, the most similar types of products that can use this strategy because you're both platform creation and content creation tools. So do they also have case studies where you can see a public Figma of kind of the same sort of case studies you're making?
I think they have a similar gallery marketplace, if you will, of designs. I'm not sure how interactive they are. I'm not sure if you have to sign up and like go through that whole like process to use them. I'm pretty sure they have like a gallery where you can explore things and how they're potentially different from Sketch and Photoshop and other similar tools. But yeah, to your point, like I think when you're trying to build a platform that's very broad and perhaps trying to replace certain incumbents, then the way you approach growth and marketing has to be very different and educational.
Gotcha. Before we close it out, are there any more questions from the participants?
I mean, this could be before your time out. I know you guys had a really impressive fundraise of $30 million, kind of when you like before you guys launched. Before, were you kind of part of that fundraise, or do you have any insight into that and kind of like, just how the team was able to raise that much money with, you know, kind of pre-product, pre-launch?
Yeah, I wasn't a part of that fundraise, unfortunately, but I think the the mission of the company is what drove the demand to fund the company because we're
Mm,
trying to redefine docs, spreadsheets,
mm,
applications. I was a huge Excel user. I still use Excel and spreadsheets all the time, and I never
mm,
thought there'd be a product better. And over like a billion people use Excel, I believe, or 100 million people use Excel
mm,
every day. And it's like, to me, the mission of trying to do something different than spreadsheets was really appealing for me as a kind of like wanting to join the company, but also
mm.
for investors seeing like you're trying to attack a very big and broad space, I think is what drove them to want to invest.
Interesting. Cool.
Interesting.
Thanks.
Well, Al, thank you so much for your great presentation today, all about solution architect and uh, engineering as marketing and figuring out how to use whatever tool a startup's creating to showcase what their customers are doing in a successful way. I've learned a lot. I'm going to go research a lot of what you've talked about today, and I'm sure the others have as well. So thanks so much for being on Masters of Marketing.
Thanks, and appreciate your time.
Awesome. With that, we're going to close out. So we'll see you all tomorrow.